The Research and Use programme has two main objectives. Firstly, it's to look at research products which have been produced by the scientific community over the last 20 years and funded by, amongst others, the British government, Department for International Development, and find out which of these products have actually been brought to use in the field in developing countries and which haven't, and to inquire into why the successful ones have been successful and the unsuccessful ones haven't been successful. So that's a kind of learning process. The other part of the programme will be to take the successful products and give them a push in the form of investment capital. Might only require small amounts of money to push them so they'll be taken off the shelf, off those dusty volumes of scientific journals and into use and improve the lives of people in the developing world. Because you've got to remember that there are millions of people in the developing world, 950 million people about, who on a daily basis don't have enough food to eat. That's a terribly sad statistic. But also, more importantly in relation to agriculture, there are 2.5 billion people in the world who are entirely dependent upon agriculture in the developing world for their livelihoods. It's a hugely important thing. And if we could increase their productivity, the number of children who went to bed every night hungry would be reduced.
Fantastic. Well done. You did it.
Absolutely, but you've got to remember that the world has changed since in the last 50 years. There are very, very many capable scientists, for example, in sub-Saharan Africa, perfectly capable of doing high-quality research. Very often the thing that's holding them back is lack of resources. So that if, for example, you have a project which involves scientists from Europe and scientists from Africa, that's very nice, they're working together. But what we're doing really is building capacity in sub-Saharan Africa or wherever else in the developing world so that they can in the end do it themselves and walk tall.
So what's your message to the private sector here, really?
Well, I think the private sector have a difficulty when they're dealing with small enterprises, say in sub-Saharan Africa, because they can't immediately see where they're going to get their money back, their return. But there is quite a lot of business interest in private philanthropy these days where, okay, the return on the money might not be great, but it might be sufficient to induce them to make small investments and looking at the market down the line to think, okay, this is just seed corn, but down the line we might be able to turn this into a really viable business. And certainly in sub-Saharan Africa, they need these small amounts of investments. To the large people in the city, this might be small amounts and hardly worth the time even looking at. But with their help, we can show them, if they can bring their business skills to these even small businesses, with their help, we can make them into big businesses over time. When we get to the end of the Research into Use programme, which will be in a couple of years' time, we'd hope that we have a much clearer idea about the rules of getting research into use, what we should do and what we shouldn't do, what constrains getting research into use and what promotes it. And we'd also, hopefully, have some success stories on our hands, our so-called best bets, which we'll have funded properly and got them in use and actually had some impact and shown, hopefully, the world this is how to do it, this is how to get research into use.